Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. I'm about 5 minutes late to my own show. This is Laurie Smith on Blog Talk Radio. This is Child Abuse Prevention and Human Rights Abuse Prevention is Up to Us. 30-minute live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. I'm just opening up the chat room right now, and I had some internet problems. Unfortunately, I don't know what's the matter with my internet, but I'm on, so that's cool. I wanted to look at an article that I found called "Take a Stand Against Family Violence," and I'm going to pop the link in there for you. And this is an awesome it's an awesome article. It's put out by the Canadian Forces, the Canadian Armed Forces, and but it's really good information for anyone. It doesn't matter whether you're in the service or not. And I just happened to find this today while doing some research for Dreamcatchers Talk Radio, and so it's a good article. It's a good bunch of information on here, very short but to the point, and it's called "Take a Stand Against Family Violence Fact Sheet," and this was put out in 2007, I believe. It's from www.vcds.forces.gc.ca, and it's Canadian. Take a Stand Against Family Violence Fact Sheets, and there's a PDF version as well. And it was put out in October 2007, but it's just good info. I think it was really well written, and it's really well done, and all kinds of good information on there. And so they said the purpose, I want to read the introduction here, and they said the purpose of the Take a Stand Against Family Violence Prevention and Awareness campaign is to communicate the importance of this issue and promote awareness, responsibility, and prevention within the CF community, Canadian Forces. Through this campaign, it is anticipated that the need for proactive responses to family violence issues will be established and responsibilities conveyed. And so, they just want to get this information out here. It's so important that everybody knows about this stuff. Family violence, affects so many families. It's hard to estimate just how many families are affected every year by family violence. At some point during the year, every year. It's hard to imagine that most families don't experience some of this, honestly, because people have so many problems dealing with their own issues, their own anger management problems, possibly some substance abuse issues, criminal activities. You just never know. Could be abuse going on in the home, right? They said here, what is family violence? Family violence means an abuse of power within a relationship of family, trust, or dependency, and includes many forms of abusive behavior. In Canada, family violence is a crime. So it says there are many kinds of abuse. There's physical abuse, sexual abuse, social abuse, emotional abuse that they list here. Physical abuse includes hitting, pulling, pushing, pinching, slapping, shaking, squeezing, arm twisting, using a weapon, and threatening to assault. Sexual abuse includes forcing anyone to have sexual relations against their will, any unwanted touching or kissing. Anyone always has the right to say no, and I like that. Social abuse includes not giving a person space or privacy, treating them like a servant, controlling what they do, who they see, who they talk to, and where they go. Emotional abuse includes yelling, intimidation, making a person think they are crazy or stupid, insulting, name-calling, blaming, and overpowering her emotions or his emotions, right? Anyone can be an abuser, this we do know. They have some power and control wheels on here as well. They've got the power and control wheel that is on a lot of different websites out there. You can find it. If you type into your browser power and control wheel, it will bring one up. And it's the same wheel that's used sort of standard across the different websites out there, right? Great information. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This is what we're going to look at tonight. Sorry I'm late, and it's unfortunate. I don't know how these things happen, but I just finished the Dreamcatchers Talk Radio a few minutes ago, and then went to pull up some information on the internet, and my internet was down. So my own network was down. So I was still able to get on and everything, having to go through a different, Google instead of my own, right? So kind of crazy. I don't know what happened there, but something's obviously wrong with my own, internet web page, like home page, right? So I had a hard time bringing up my information and whatnot. So sorry about being late there. And this morning, too, it's just one of those days. So, Monday, right? So thanks again for being here, everybody. I really appreciate you tuning into my shows. I'm not a professional. I'm the Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children. I'm just a private citizen, really volunteering with Dreamcatchers for Abused Children to help stop child abuse, right? to help promote awareness, education, prevention, to stop child abuse, right? And I'm not a counselor or therapist or anything like that, and I'm not a professional in this field. I'm just a person who knows a lot about it. Let me tell you that. I grew up in an abusive home. I spent my whole entire life with abusive parents until I got away from them at the age of 29. And so, I do a lot of talking about this stuff on my One Child Abuse Survivor to Another show in the mornings. And but I'm really interested in child rights. Children have rights, and I'm very much interested in children, in the whole family. It's not just about just children. I mean, the whole family is affected by family violence, by abuse. It destroys families. It destroyed our family. And I really know a whole lot about it as a person who lived in it and survived it, and then went on to see a lot of my own friends in the same situations in my lifetime. And as far as domestic violence and abuse goes, and child abuse issues, I'm kind of I would say, because I've survived it and I've been through it, that I'm somewhat of an expert on the subject. Right? I've lived it my whole life. I ate it and drank it, and breathed it forever. Right? So, I'm doing a lot of work to try to promote child rights, to try to change the way that people feel about children. Children are our most precious asset, really, and people are killing them. It's bad enough children end up with these diseases, cancer and childhood diseases, right? Or they just die from these horrible things around the world, like malnutrition, wars, neglect. It's horrible. Starvation, lack of clean drinking water, diseases. Bad enough children are dying from all of that, right? That's very heartbreaking. And then to think that parents are killing their children, and if they don't kill them physically, killing them spiritually, which is what happened in my family. So, killing them in every way, even if they don't end up in the body bag in the morgue, killing their very soul, their very spirit, by the abuse that they inflict on them. And if a child spends long enough in that, it can kill a child, absolutely. It doesn't have to be physical violence. It can be any number of emotional, psychological abuses towards a child can kill a child just as well as any kind of physical abuse. It's absolutely horrific what is going on out there, and I know firsthand. I was in it, lived it, and know all about it. So I thought, well, I just want to be one more voice out here, so that's what I'm doing. And so you have to listen at your own discretion. I talk about everything to do with abuse. My shows cover all issues surrounding abuse, right? Very much a touchy and sensitive subject. So if you're not comfortable listening to my shows, please turn them off. It won't hurt my feelings at all. And if you're a young person under the age of 18, I ask that you have permission to listen to my show from an adult, someone who can help you make the decision whether you should be listening or not. It's very important to me, because I'm fighting with dream catchers for abused children to save children's lives, and we're trying to protect children from every kind of, horrific child sexual predator and crazy person out there. So you have to know how to keep yourself safe online. And you can start by, getting permission to listen to my show if you're going to listen, and make sure that it's okay for you to listen to it. There's a lot of adult content on my show, and I believe children should be protected at all times. So please do me a favor and yourself a favor, and get someone to listen to the show with you, so they can help you make up your mind if you should be listening. Somebody older, an adult, right? So we'll take a look at this. This is the power and control wheel, and this is found just about everywhere. It's all about, power and control, physical violence, sexual, using coercion and threats, using intimidation, using emotional abuse, using isolation, right? Minimizing, denying, and blaming, using children, using male privilege, using economic abuse, and it just goes around and around and around. If you look at that, they've got the detailed information within that wheel of each one of those categories, right? And you can sort of see what's happening. Power and control, using intimidation, making her afraid, or him afraid, I'm going to say, because you know what? I have to say him or her, because, women are abusers too, right? And I know this. Men are abused as well, and a lot of people don't realize that, but it's very true. And anyone can be an abuser. So, I'm going to put in him or her in here because it's just what I have to do. So making her or him afraid by using looks, actions, gestures, smashing things, destroying his or her property, abusing pets, displaying weapons, right? That's intimidation, right? And this would be in family violence situations. This would be a domestic violence situation, domestic abuse, right? Using emotional abuse, right? Putting him or her down, making him or her feel bad about themselves, calling them names, making them think that they're crazy, playing mind games, humiliating them, making them feel guilty. And I mean, I experienced all of this with my parents. My parents were very much, hugely abusive to each other. But I watched what my dad did to my mom, and then I watched what my mom did to my dad, and they were both extremely abusive in every way. And so I saw all of this, right? Using isolation, controlling what your partner does, he or she does, who they talk to, what they read, where they go. My sister did that to her husband. Limiting their outside involvement, using jealousy to justify actions. My sister was very much treating her husband like that. My sister grew up under my mother, so that gives you any idea the type of dysfunction and the type of the cycle of abuse that was passed on to all of us. It affected us all, right? In very different ways. But we were all affected by their abuse and by the abuse that they inflicted on us. And we were all affected by it. And it did, some of my siblings passed the cycle on and some of us didn't, right? Minimizing, denying, and blaming. So it's making light of the abuse and not taking their concerns about it seriously, saying the abuse didn't happen, shifting responsibility for the abusive behavior, and saying that they caused it. So that's all something that I totally grew up with. Using children, making them feel guilty about the children, using the children to relay messages, using visitation to harass them, the partner, him or her, threatening to take the children away. And my parents were always using us for all kinds of reasons, to get back at the other parent, playing a lot of mind games, a lot of manipulation, and, they weren't trying to protect, each other, like protect us from each other. They were both very much abusive. And so, they both played their games, right? Using male privilege is treating her like a servant, making all the big decisions, acting like the master of the castle, being the one to define men's and women's roles. And using economic abuse, preventing him or her from getting or keeping a job, making them ask for money, giving them an allowance, taking the money away from them, right? Not letting them know about or have access to the family income, which my dad did to my mom, the whole time they were married until she got extremely angry one time and took the checkbook away from him, because there was no food, my dad wasn't paying the bills, there was no food in the house, and there was, I think, 5 children in the home, and my mom was starving. And so she got really upset, and I guess, I don't know if she had to beat him up for it, but she took the checkbook, and from that day on, she ruled the money. So he only got away with it for about the first, I'd say, 20 years of their marriage, right? After that, she took it over. So I think she got brave enough to take him on and took over the checkbook. But this can happen. This totally can happen. It's not something that's all that uncommon. Like a lot of people might think that this stuff is uncommon, but it's actually really not. It's very sad that it is really common. And family violence exists whether people want to believe it or not. We can all pretend. You want to line up everybody on every block, and then just play back a tape of what their family life has been like, for their history, whether they want to admit it or not. Half of them wouldn't admit it, but if we could see the videotapes playing, you would see that there is a lot of family violence going on at any given time, all over North America, right, and let alone around the world, but especially, we're talking about North America here, right? Using coercion and threats, making and carrying out threats to do something to hurt her or him, right? Threatening to leave the partner, to commit suicide, to report them to welfare, making them drop charges, and making them do illegal things, right? Using coercion and threats. So this is all what abusers do, right? And it says, look at the wheel and think about your relationship with your partner. Does your partner use any of these methods to control you? Does he or she damage your things? Does he or she make you feel guilty and humiliate you? Talk to someone you trust. Your local MFRC has resources to assist you in these situations. Give them a call. And so this is up in Canada, right? But you can call any National Coalition Against Domestic Violence hotline. There's so many hotlines out there regarding domestic abuse and violence. And I would think it would just be really important for people to know that the telephone numbers are there and that, you should call and get some help if you're in this situation. So many people suffer in this and it's never reported. It's never, there's just nothing done. And so many people spend their lives in this situation. It's absolutely horrible that would happen, and it's very sad, right? Because no one deserves to be treated like this. No man or woman or child deserves to be treated like this. It's absolutely horrible. There's the nonviolence equality wheel, which is really cool. Non-threatening behavior, respect, trust and support, honesty and accountability, responsible parenting, shared responsibility, economic partnership, and negotiation and fairness. Now that's what life should really be all about, right? And it said here, look at the wheel and think about your relationship with your partner. Do you see some sides of your current relationship in this wheel? What does honesty, support, and fairness mean to you? Talk to someone you trust, right? So, if you look in there and you see that there's not a whole lot of the equality wheel, but there's a whole lot of the power and control wheel, then you have to think, well, what kind of a relationship am I in? Am I being really mistreated, or are there things that we can get help with, or is it just am I being abused and I need to get out? These are serious questions that a lot of people don't realize that they're even being abused because they're so used to being treated like that, and that's so true, right? Very, very sad. Equality, non-threatening behavior, walking and acting so that your partner feels safe and comfortable expressing themselves and doing things, Respect, listening to your partner non-judgmentally, being emotionally affirming and understanding, valuing their opinions. Trust and support, supporting their goals in life, protecting their right to their own feelings, friends, activities, and opinions. Accepting responsibility for self. This is honesty and accountability. Acknowledging past use of violence, admitting being wrong, and communicating openly and truthfully. Responsible parenting, sharing parental responsibilities, being a positive, nonviolent role model for children. Shared responsibility, mutual agreement on a fair distribution of work and making family decisions together. And economic partnership, making money decisions together, making sure both parties benefit from financial arrangements, right? Do you think your partner's abusing you? This is a bunch of questions that they ask, and it's very important that people be honest when they're thinking about this stuff, right? It says, does your partner hit, slap, kick, punch, or push you around? Does your partner hurt you or threaten to hurt you in other ways? Does your partner treat you like a possession, not a person? Does your partner force you to have sex against your wishes? Does your partner constantly put you down, make you feel stupid and or worthless? Does your partner make it hard for you to leave? And does your partner not let you have your own friends? It says the first step is often the hardest. If nothing is done, the abuse will not stop, even if they say that they love you and promise that it will never happen again, right? This is the thing. It's very, very sad. And, I watched my parents treat each other like this. I watched my dad, force my mom to have sex against her wishes, constantly putting her down, making her feel stupid and worthless. He was always threatening to hurt her and all of us kids, right? And he was quite often hurting her and us kids, and was a lot of threats as well as following through with the threats, right? He was always quite often hitting her, slapping her, pushing her around, right? And he was quite often doing that to his children as well. Now, my mom was also doing that to him. So she was also, she wasn't forcing him to have sex, but she was constantly putting him down, being abusive to him, threatening to hurt him if he didn't leave her alone. She wasn't too interested in protecting us, but she was very interested in protecting herself. I grew up in this kind of stuff, right? This is absolutely horrible, and no one deserves to be treated like this, right? It says help is available. If you think you've been abused, call a friend or family member that you trust, right? Be sure it's someone who understands that violence is never okay nor justifiable, right? That you are not to blame for abusive behavior, that your safety and your children's safety must be the top priority. If the person you tell is not supportive, don't stop. Keep looking until you find someone who is. And it says call a women's shelter or crisis line. I really like this information, A women's shelter can provide safety and support for you and your children, as well as helping with your future plans. You don't have to stay at a shelter to get help. You can talk to someone over the phone. They can help you make the choices that are right for you and find the resources you need, right? Call the police, it says. Remember, violence is a crime. It is against the law to physically or sexually assault someone. Join a support group. You are not alone. Self-help groups where individuals experiencing abuse meet are extremely useful in helping individuals find ways to protect themselves and deal with the emotional, physical, financial changes in their lives. So check with your local shelter or crisis line to find out about support groups in your community. See a counselor. Find a counselor who values your right to freedom from abuse and will work with you, believe you, and support your choices and decisions. And it says, do you think you are an abuser in the relationship, right? As a partner, it says when you are in a relationship, you always have to be the one in charge. Do you believe that it's okay for you to behave in a certain way but not okay for your partner? Have you ever forced or pressured your partner to do something against her wishes or his wishes in order to get what you want? And this is what people have to ask themselves. Do you blame your partner for everything that goes wrong, insult them, put them down? Are you so jealous that you stop your partner from going places or seeing other people without you? Have you ever pushed, slapped, or hit your partner? Has it happened more than once? And have you ever been told that the way you treat your partner is abusive and unacceptable? And it says controlling behaviors create fear in your partner, not love. Take a closer look at your behavior and get help. Violence is not a loss of control. It's an attempt to gain control. Violence is a learned behavior, and you can change if you get help. Changing violent behavior takes work and time, but it's worth it. Help for those who abuse, right? Take responsibility for your actions. It says stop blaming, learn new ways of coping with your feelings, seek professional help, and it says when you can, what you can do to help an individual experiencing abuse, a friend, relative, coworker, or neighbor. Just give them clear messages. Violence is never okay or justifiable. Their safety and children's safety are always the most important issues. Partner assault is a crime, and that he or she did not cause the abuse, that they are not to blame for the partner's behavior, that they cannot change their partner's behavior. Apologies and promises will not end the violence. They are not alone, and they can get help for themselves and their children. They're not crazy. And abuse is not a loss of control, it's a means of control. And help her make a safety plan. Talk with her about planning, or him, about planning their safety plan for them and their children. Help them identify a wide range of choices, right? To stay or to permanently leave their relationship must not be seen as the only choice. Encourage and support them to make their own decisions. And things to consider when making a safety plan, right? You've got to make a safety plan, but make a plan about what you will do and where to go if you're in danger. Tell your children about the plan if they're old enough to understand. And, if you have a vehicle, make sure it has gas, hide the extra set of keys, hide some money, have a safe hiding place to go, trusted friend, neighbor, relative, women's shelter, right? Work out a code word that can be used on the phone with someone you trust if you're in danger. That's very important. And if you think you may have to leave your home, some items you might want to have with you: birth certificates, health, social insurance cards, driver's licenses, passports, cash, bank books, copies of everything, man. You want to have copies of everything. And emergency numbers handy, hidden away, right? Or just, memorize them. I think that's the best thing. But there's more information on here, but we have about a minute left here, but there's all kinds of great information on here. You can go to that link at www.vcds.forces.gc.ca. And it's called Take a Stand Against Family Violence. And I think it's just an awesome, awesome bunch of information. There's also the Abuse of Children Wheel. I think we're going to continue looking at this on Wednesday night. There's just some really good information on here. So thanks very much, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate it. I'll be back on tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock a.m., one child abuse survivor to another, taking another look at abuse and stopping abusive behavior by controlling our own anger and learning how to manage our own anger, right? And that's what we're working on there. And have a great night, everybody. I wish you all well. And thanks for tuning into all my shows. We'll talk to you real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.